Hey, what's up? It's been a little while since I've done anything at this channel, but I just found out that YouTube is changing their channel monetization requirements as of the beginning of next year, and this channel is still not monetized. So I thought, what better way than to get back on the road to monetization and doing something with this channel, which I have ideas for. What better way than to start talking about HBO's Lanterns series? That's right. Us Green Lantern fans, us long suffering Green Lantern fans, finally have a respectful translation of the Green Lantern lore, mythos. Now that James Gunn has taken over the whole DC Universe deal, we finally have a respectful translation of the Green Lantern story now here on HBO. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to talk about that because I feel like a lot of you who know me from either Going in Raw stuff or the Wrestle Juice stuff, or now the movie review stuff over at Steven Larson's TFTW, might want to know what I think about the Lantern stuff. First up, I'm going to give you some proof that I am an old school, and when I say old school, I mean super old school, Green Lantern fan. He was always my second favorite superhero after Batman. Of course, back in 1989, I really got into the comic books thanks to the Tim Burton Batman movie. And soon after me diving into the world of DC Comics, it took a couple more years for me to get into Marvel stuff. But soon after I dove into DC comic books, I really grew to love Green Lantern. Why? I don't know. Hal Jordan's not the most interesting character in the world, and that's one thing I like about the Lantern show, is that they at least tried. They at least tried. I can't say the same for the Ryan Reynolds thing. I saw like 15 minutes of that back in the day, and I was so thoroughly irritated by Ryan Reynolds that I sort of wrote him off wholesale, because that Green Lantern movie, at least the first 15 minutes were garbage. I can't really speak for the rest, but from what I understand, it's not terribly good. This, on the other hand, a lot more serious. I'm going to dig something out for you guys, though, first, before we get started. I think this is it. This is a sketch pad. Actually, it's not even a sketch pad. It's a lined notebook from like 1990 or 1989, where I used to keep some of my drawings. There's only like 20 pages in this thing, but I swear I know I've got a Green Lantern drawing somewhere in here. In any event, I know a lot of you might want to know what I think about the Lanterns. And so, did I do this? I made I made him a Green Lantern car. This is apparently the Green Lantern car that I made up back in the day, because I don't recall him ever having that in the comic books. Why would he need a car when he can fly, which is a gag that they had in the Green Lantern. They called him a flight risk because he got into a bar fight. Anyways, like, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to do like a review of the pilot of Lanterns, and then I'm going to do a review of the finale of Lanterns. I'll give you sort of a broad overview. But yeah, Hal Jordan has never really been the most... I know I had a Green Lantern drawing in here somewhere. Hal Jordan's never really been the most interesting character. You know, Batman had dead parents. Superman had the whole alien slash immigrant slash he's unique in that he can do everything better than everybody else thing going for him. And he had to like cover up his identity because he didn't want, like, you know, his loved ones to be targeted. And then, you know, so that was interesting. The Flash, Barry Allen, again, he had like he was a unique guy. He always had to deal with, oh God, I'm really fast. I'll be honest with you, I don't even think he was all that interesting. But they did cool shit with the whole, you know, I can go fast thing. Hal Jordan, on the other hand, he was a test pilot who was fearless. And one day, there was an alien that crash landed, which they talk about in the show as well. And so he goes to the alien and he's like, hey, this ring chose you because you're fearless. You don't know fear, and you got a strong willpower, which is what you need for the ring as well. And so the alien chose him, and then he became Green Lantern. And beyond that, you know, like, he had a love interest. He had people in his orbit. But, you know, he came across a guy years later named John Stewart, who had like kind of a chip on his shoulder. And in the show, although I feel like they're going to dive a little bit more into exactly why John Stewart's dad was sort of grooming him to become a Green Lantern by doing things like shooting apples off of his head in the backyard, which was, wow, a pretty interesting and I would think controversial parenting technique that they showed us in Lanterns. I was like, I don't really know how I feel about that, but I'm sure there's way more to that story than they're letting on in just episode 1. And yes, by the way, I just realized I am going to talk about the major spoiler, the major plot twist at the end of the episode. So if you haven't seen Lanterns yet, I'm just going to say this. I highly recommend it. Now go click off on a different video. I've got others on this channel, but I don't know how interested you'd be in those. In any event, I don't know. Here's my thing also. Like, I don't know all the Easter eggs. I read plenty of Green Lantern back in the day. But I didn't read all the Green Lantern, and I certainly haven't read any Green Lantern recently, which is probably stuff that they're going to pull from more in the James Gunn stuff than maybe older things that I used to read back in like the early 90s, perhaps. In any event, it's a high recommend from me. But I'll go through some of the broad strokes here. Basically, they set it up with Hal Jordan, and he's got John Stewart. Hal Jordan, at this point, had been a Green Lantern for like 20 years. Apparently, he started in like 86. He got the ring in 86. And then by 96, he had sort of come out. He was like, hey, I'm Green Lantern. I'm Hal Jordan. This is me. And I'm protecting everybody here on Earth. It's sort of my deal. Exactly where that lines up with other sort of superheroes in James Gunn's DC, I'm not 1,000% sure. I think Clark came to Earth, I want to say in 86 or thereabouts, there around there. I saw one fan theory that maybe Abin Sur, the Green Lantern Corps, was interested in Kal-El coming to Earth. So maybe that's something that they can explore in the wider narrative of, the DC stuff. I don't know. Maybe they'll do that. But there's a couple mysteries that have been set up here. There's an alien that showed up on Earth, and then there was a really great interrogation scene where Hal Jordan realized, or he figured out how to get it out of this guy who looked like a human, that he is in fact an alien. A lot of people have sort of, I feel like just on surface level, they've made the comparison to like, oh, it's got the vibe of True Detective, which I kind of get it. It's sort of like slower mystery in like the Midwest, but it's sort of just, there's not much more to it in terms of the True Detective element of it. It's just sort of on vibes. It's kind of got True Detective vibes to it. I think maybe a bit more in line with like Fargo, perhaps, maybe. In any event, chemistry between the two leads, John Stewart and Hal Jordan, I don't know, Pierre something or another, and then Kyle Chandler, I think his name is off the charts good. I think they did a terrific job casting these characters. Anyways, Hal Jordan's been at this for a long time, so he's got a little bit on the burnt out side. He doesn't wear the uniform anymore. He tells people, yeah, I busted out on special occasions. He also says this, which is pretty interesting. He says, I've been around the galaxy, and it's pretty peaceful. So in general, I guess we can expect the outer space version of the DCU, assuming the James Gunn DCU sort of survives the whole Warner Brothers Paramount merger, if that even happens or not. But of course, obviously, Supergirl recently didn't do too terribly well at the box office. So who knows how that will affect everything. But assuming we continue on with the James Gunn DC universe, that's kind of interesting to me that they sort of made a point to say, I've been out and about. Things are pretty peaceful out there. Contrasted to Earth, which is maybe why Hal Jordan's kind of like burnt out, because he's like, I'm on the shithole planet. I'm kind of, I live, there's an area of town not far where I live where there's like a Safeway and a Walmart next to each other. My buddy reminded me of this day. And it's sort of like a shitty area. It's kind of like outside the green zone, if you will. And I'm like, maybe Earth is sort of outside the green zone. You come down here, and as the alien said in the show, we care more about football than we do like about the environment and the climate and stuff like that. Taking care of our poor people. We care more about that shit. And Hal Jordan there seems to be a subtext with Hal Jordan where it's like, yeah, it's not really like that other places. It's actually kind of nice out there away from Earth, which I thought was a pretty good line. Garrett Dillahunt plays, obviously, who's going to be the big bad, I'm assuming, in this. And he's terrific. He's been great in everything. If you guys haven't seen Deadwood, that was the first time I ever saw this guy. And he plays two roles. He plays the guy that shot Wild Bill Hickok, and then that guy gets run out of town. And then the same actor plays a completely different character. He's a terrific actor, and I'm really looking forward to his role in this. It's so far, like, I really love the first episode. So let's talk about the spoiler at the end. So the show takes place across kind of 3 different time periods. There's when Jon Stewart was a kid in 1996. There is when Jon Stewart was a trainee to become Green Lantern in 2016. And then there is current day 2026 when Jon Stewart, is he a Green Lantern already? Is he not a Green Lantern already? I don't know. Hal Jordan in 2016 seems to say, you're not going to become Green Lantern until I am dead. Now, we do know there's another Green Lantern out there. It's Guy Gardner. And so what's the story behind him? I know he's going to be in the show at some point. So, like, why? Does he have a ring when Hal Jordan has said there's one Green Lantern per sector? I don't know. We're going to find out as well. But at a certain point, Hal Jordan had said, you're not going to become Green Lantern until I die. Well, that was a little bit of foreshadowing because, spoiler alert, once again, at the end of the episode in 2026, the only glimpse of 2026 we have, Jon Stewart shows up back in the small Midwestern town that they were visiting the first time around when they figured there was an alien invasion of some sort going on, which also coincides with 20 years earlier where Hal Jordan met Abin Sur for the first time and got that ring off him. And they find Hal Jordan and he's dead, seemingly with a gunshot wound or some sort of wound to the head. And he's just there and he's all snowed upon. So the mystery is afoot. I guess therein lies sort of also the true detective parallels because there's like a mystery going on and small town detectives are on the case. And maybe Green Lantern, maybe not Green Lantern. Maybe 2026, Jon Stewart's still waiting around to become Green Lantern. And this is going to be his opportunity because it didn't look like he was wearing a ring when you see him in 2026. So lots of fan theories out there right now, which is really cool. I like the weekly release thing. I know we went through this whole phase where we like to binge things. I don't like that. I'll just give it to me once a week because then everybody gets to talk about it. Everybody has a good time figuring out the pieces. Ooh, all the fan theories, all the Reddit threads, all the threads, all the Twitter threads, all the YouTube videos. People get to discuss their fan theories. And I think that's tremendous. I think that's great. Will I be doing that every week here? Probably not. But because I leave that to people who can sort of suss out the Easter eggs a little bit better than I can. That being said, I would really highly recommend the first episode of Lanterns. I thought it was great. And the only drawing, I know I've got other drawings of Green Lantern somewhere, but the only one I could find in this freaking notebook of mine, I think, is the one of the Green Lantern car, which I don't know if this is going to show up in the actual show, considering I made it up myself. I give HBO, Warner's full, permission to use whatever the fuck this thing, whatever this thing is. You know what, man? I was 11 years old. What do you want from me? It kind of does look like a car from the side anyways. So, anyways, that's going to do it for this review of Lanterns. I give it a big thumbs up. I think it's terrific. I think the casting's great. Acting's good. I like that probably because of budgetary reasons, it's a very grounded show because I think that's a great setting for like what's to come. Like he uses the ring very sparingly in the show. It's kind of like, well, I've been doing this for so long. I'd kind of like to just do things the way I like to do them as opposed to having to rely on the ring for everything. I don't know. It was good. It's a really engrossing first hour of a show. Hopefully the remainder of the series will be just as good and people will be into the DCU. I really love the other HBO show they did, Peacemaker. I thought that was terrific as well. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I got plans for this channel, man. I'm not telling you what they are just yet, but I got plans for this channel. Basically, it's sort of just, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to throw a bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks. Gross metaphor. It really is.